Hi, my name's Alexandra Privatera, and the name of my paper is All Things Depend, analyzing David Perry's speech, Are Video Games Better Than Life? David Perry begins his speech by giving us a short overview of how video games are involved in his life, and generally why and how his interest in them blossom into a career. He goes on to present facts, figures, and sentiments which explain the cultural impact of video games internationally, doing a great job of showing the necessary context information to set the atmosphere for people who aren't yet aware of video games as an integral part of present and future social media. Beyond this point, however, it seems his general sentiment isn't fully expressed, which leaves little food for thought for the viewers. The content which Perry provides is all relevant to explaining video games as a social phenomenon. Through statistics and images, we are given enough data to understand the daunting and mysterious place they have in society. The material is sound information is given quickly and effectively, but only to reach a perpetual anticlimax. Once the audience is on his level, he doesn't use that to form any topical argument or sentiment, but keeps bringing up other people's work to reinforce video games' effect on society. While this is still effective to a point, it doesn't feel like any wisdom is being shared from the speaker. The information is fluid, but it never really gets anywhere until he plays someone else's video for almost the entire second half of his presentation. This video fits perfectly in to supplement what the speaker does not even do a little, which is to say that all the data shown is really alluding to that video games can have extreme effects on social perspective for individuals and are already changing the way people interact and gratify certain impulses. While it was a good choice, not much credit can be awarded to the speaker as far as generating his own content or opinion, no matter how effective the result may be. Rubric-wise, he gets a 2. He may have lots of relevant content that's presented well, but it cannot be weighted as equally as the personal ideas that this presentation is lacking. While Perry's physical presence is slightly timid, he remains comfortable and composed throughout his presentation. His voice is clear and a good accompaniment to his data. But at the same time, his actual presence doesn't add much. His personal anecdotes, especially in the beginning, and short bursts of well-placed humor reflect a good-natured confidence. Perry delivers the speech in the best way possible a slightly awkward introverted person can, so in that respect he deserves a 4 for his delivery. It's hard to gauge his use of language because of the gaps in his content. Most of his articulation comes from clarifying data he's showing to the audience, adding little beyond that. His words come out evenly without any dramatic pauses or uncomfortable areas. That said, he really only has less than a minute of material that isn't spent rigidly narrating his slideshow or introducing other people's videos. So while his articulation and correctness seem to be very good, they should be so by default. He gets a 2 for his language because he never really gives the subjective data that he should, so he never has to explain abstract or personal connections. We can't credit him for giving an audience just a little bit more than what they could get from doing the research from the comfort of their home, no matter how clear it was. Why does this TED convention-worthy presentation get an 8 out of 12? To put it nicely, it's because it was barely an oral presentation at all. The speaker does a good job of collecting the data necessary to support his sentiment, but refuses to actually say anything himself, instead opting for a dramatic student video, which does the job for him. Video games are clearly so interactive and powerful to the user that the industry's responsibility should constantly be analyzed and defined. No other social media tool in history has the elements which they possess as far as user involvement. And this is the only amplified by their role in stimulating younger and younger audiences. The ramifications only get a little more dangerous as the digital experience more closely resemble the actual world, bringing up all sorts of ethical and sociological implications. He's quick to say that adults buy video games more demographically, as if that means they don't reach out to children as much as people think. That's the same as saying toddlers don't ride tricycles because they aren't the ones buying them. The situation with video games today and for the assumed future is so much like a cultural Pandora's box that this presentation feels like it's stating obvious years after it should be said. Of course they need to be monitored and regulated, but only to the degree which they already are. Video games are dangerous when they are used for a means of escaping beyond well-natured entertainment. For many people, they have passed the threshold long ago, and so our boundary of what is healthy and not is hard to define because we're forced to compare with standards that are already part of the distant, more innocent past. They are, however, very clearly still an art form, though just one which has the potential to harm the viewer. With that in mind,